William. Ato in Juba, Malatori, yo, in Ping William. Ato in Benti, wala kwaju, wow, in Ping William. Ato in Malkal, wala Pinyaram, in Ping William.
Welcome everybody. Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to Let's State Media. My name is Abraham Madinmajab. I'm one of the Let's State Media hosts. Let me welcome my guest. This evening is Masari Imuniakani. He's in the studio with us. Before we start our show, please, I would like you guys in Facebook, YouTube, and Clubhouse to share it. So today we are talking very important topic. So what our country is facing. So thank you, Imuniakani, for always finding time to respond to our invitation to come to the same media to update the people of South Sudan. So today we will talk before we dive in our discussion. So I would like you to brief, say a little bit about yourself, and then we continue to start our discussion regarding about the topic. Welcome, Ibn.
Thank you. For a long time, we have been missing each other due to the busy schedules I have. But my name is Edmund Yakani. I work as executive director of SEPO and one of the civil society who is a signatory to the Revitalized Peace Agreement. And maybe to share also with South Sudanese of recent, you are aware, I sit as a president of East African Civil Society in Arusha. So sort of like real East African communities right under our hand now, civil society under our hand, the chairmanship under our hand. So that's what I can share. But otherwise, thank you for hosting me, and I'm ready for us to interact on our national issues as constructively, productively we can interact. Dialogue is the best way always to narrow gap and to nurture better understanding for common interests of the common citizen of South Sudan. So I think that's what I would say. Thank you for hosting me today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Before we go to our topic, actually, I would like you to highlight, to say a little bit about South Sudan right now. President Salva Kiir is a chairman of East Africa. And you, Irmun, you are a chairman. You are a chairman of
civil society.
Civil society in the whole East Africa. Can you tell us South Sudan is in charge in East Africa? So can you tell a little bit about this, how you feel and how you and President can lead and bring, so we people of South Sudan, we are so proud of you and President Kiir for representing us, not only in East Africa, but around the globe. So say a little bit about that before we go to our topic. Thank you.
You know, these positions is challenging positions. I have to be honest with you, in the sense that East African community is a new merging economical regional hub. It is more of economical integration with a little agenda on peace and security in the region. But peace and security in the region becoming more disturbing agenda compared to economical integration. And the concept of East Africa is that it is a citizens-centered integration process. So previously, I'm not really well-versed of it, but I became well-versed when I took up this job. I'm almost now going to a period of 6 months sitting in the East African community and understanding it. It is a very interesting mechanism. It's a very interesting instrument that is integration and give us a lot of opportunities, because usually people have a one-sided narrative about it. And many people look in terms of the human integration, or what they call the citizens integration, in terms of economic employment, economic opportunities, employment. Oh, we know East African citizens may come and take over chance in South Sudan. But that have procedures. It's not just open. And you can see Tanzania, who is a founding member of the East African community up to now. Tanzania even have not yet moved as quick as faster on citizens integration. Tanzania say they made it the Tanzanians. Nobody can cross from Tanzania. If you take the three initial countries, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, if you see them, they have not yet committed themselves to citizens integration. So that fear shouldn't be a fear that is terrorizing us that they were coming to do that. But actually, in my assessment, is that South Sudan become one of the countries that it have citizens integration before the even East African community. Today, you can find a Ugandan, a Bora Bora rider in Juba, a chapati seller in Juba. You can find a Kenyan can open a business shop without any bureaucracy. So we are becoming more integrated, or we open to citizen integration before they ask joining East African community. So this is some of the argument people are arguing that, look at they're going to take over the jobs. I tell you, some of the organizations that are national NGOs are mostly run by Kenyans. They're founded by South Sudanese, but the staff who mobilize resources, who fundraise are mainly Kenyans and Ugandans. And so we are advanced citizens integration before joining East African community. Now, as you said, what is this opportunity? Let me start first with the challenge of the chair position, where our president is the chair. That position is a really challenging position. Why challenging? You are engaging with other head of states that are economical oriented. So the decision is not so much political. The decisions are more economical focused. Right. And that requires technicalities. That requires technicalities. And that's why I'm saying my appeal. And when His Excellency President took up the position of the chair, my appeal is that actually His Excellency President, compared to the other head of states in terms of technical team behind, Kagame have a technical team on East African community. Kenya have that the same. Uganda have the same. Burundi have the same. Look at DRC who have just came in. DRC now start also coming as an influencer. And remember, Somalia, which is a center of business population, is now part of it. So Somalia is going to shape the economy because Somalians are almost every in this country holding businesses. So I think His Excellency President Salva need to have a technical team that are well versed of economical integration issues. Then he only drive the responsibility of being a convener and get a material from a technical team that is behind him. And I've been lobbying, I've been pushing, I've been advocating that actually His Excellency Salva need to have a technical team. Yes, we have a Minister of East African Affairs, which is our son, Honorable Dengalor. He is the Minister of East African Affairs. But this requires a technical team. You can see one of the error is a map. Yes. Which later on the SG acknowledged, because we pushed the SG acknowledged. I'm one of the person who stand and I challenge the SG at my capacity as a president of civil society that that's not the map we want, because in that map first, Lome Triangle has not been spotted as a disputed area, and where the map is wrong. And later on, the Secretary General of East African Community accepted that yes, the map of South Sudan is misrepresented, and I really have to report that because I push harder and I saw so many South Sudanese raising the concerns. But because I see that position, I have level of leverage of influence, and I push the SG to acknowledge that the map is wrong and they must correct that. So if you see that mistake is coming from where? And His Excellency President is a chair of East African Committee. He could have spotted right from day one because it's his own nation being misrepresented. But I don't blame the president. I blame the people around him that is a work of technical team. You know, His Excellency President cannot do everything. He just come to overseas, to bless, to endorse. But there's a technical team that work on that. And that's why my appeal to His Excellency is to put a technical team on East African Affairs, specifically as chair. Why? This is the challenge he's going to face as he comes as a chair of East African Community. One, he have East African Community at a moment that its member states are breaking into violence. And DRC become the hub of the violence. You might have seen as DRC joined the membership of East African Community, DRC came with that idea that they need peacekeeping force in DRC. One country that have undergone the normal procedures of sending their sons and daughters in uniform for peacekeeping mission is only Kenya. But we rush to send our sons and daughters without parliamentary endorsement, and it backfires. Why it backfires? Because DRC was asking the force to be a combat force, a force that goes and fights M23. While these countries are sending their sons and daughters in boots to only keep peace, not to make peace. So they're not for combat. And then they just say, no, your responsibility is bad. I don't want you, don't be here. So renewal of the mandate, the President Tshisekedi terminate the renewal of the mandate of the ISA, which actually for me also I support, because actually we are going at a moment that there's so much mess in DRC between Burundi, Uganda, and Rwanda. They're already in Eastern DRC, and there's so much involved in looting resources in the name of fighting the rebels. So us getting out from that is an opportunity. So based on this agenda of DRC and Somalia coming in, one of my appeals is that His Excellency President should appoint a president technical advisor with knowledge of peace and security to help His Excellency President shape the agenda of peace and security in DRC, in Somalia, but at the same time, even back at home. Also, he is facing the same challenge. So I think for me, that's the challenge. So we have opportunities. At my side, as a president of the civil society, my role is to make sure that we push for things that meet our interest. As we speak now, we have a lot of civil servants position, but students are not applying. But at least now, me being a president of civil society, and I have my brother Ben Gideon, who was brought from the Human Rights Commission as undersecretary, as young he is, we are hunting also to enroll South Sudanese to take over jobs that are civil servants jobs in East African Community Secretariat. So likely we may enroll South Sudanese because we have expertise within the country can take over those jobs. So my role is really to campaign for that, but also for demand for democracy, respect of human rights and accountability. And of course, I have to start back at home. And that's why we have to push His Excellency, look here, be a role model, start at home. Charity begins at home.
Absolutely.
Fix things at home before you go and fix things in DRC. So for me, that's a challenge that we're in. It's a challenging moment. It's a moment of self-compromise. You know, I come to learn recently, actually even one have to compromise with himself. Some people are too ambitious that they can't compromise by themselves. And because you don't have self-compromise, it's very hard for you to compromise with the other party. So we need to do that developing self-compromise. So for me, it's an opportunity that we need to shape and we need to show. Anyway, I've made difference. We've made difference in little time. I've made difference in the side of the civil society. And I hope His Excellency President also will make difference through his seat. But as I said, really His Excellency need a technical team. And I've been lobbying that a technical team must be appointed for the chair of East Africa, who is His Excellency President Salva. So that's what I can share. But it's a big opportunity, something that I don't know how it come by coincidence. So we find ourselves both leading these wings. So, and also in the court, by the way, East African court, we have now quite a number of South Sudanese judges who are actually admired by the civil society in East Africa that look, your judges are much more better than even the experienced judges from Kenya. They listen, they are so inclusive. So you can say the expertise we have, but of course, the political mindset we have, which is fueled by ethnicity, by sharp appetite, quick rush to power, this is what is challenging us. But we need to take responsibility. We need to challenge ourselves. And as I said, we need to do some self-compromises. We need to compromise, honestly, for ourselves to have a better country that way. But otherwise, outside there, we're great. In-house, we had a problem.
We need to fix our house. Our house is so scattered. We need to fix it.
Exactly.
We need to speak our house. We should be good out there, outside, but when we come back in our house, it's a mess. It's a mess. We need to fix it. So, and we are so proud of you and President Salva Kiir for representing us. It's wonderful. And I'm agree with you about what you said, that President Salva Kiir need a team around him, a professional team that work 4/7, see everything that is going right. Because everything, whenever a president go overseas, travel overseas, and then a lot of wrong things happening. That means that, and we cannot, and I see a lot of people are blaming president, but you cannot blame president. People you should blame are the staff, the president's staff, the critical team are the one to blame, not the president. Because any president around the world, any country, the technical team are the one who do everything for president and then guard the president. But if the technical team are not doing their job, how can the president represent those people? So that means president. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let me give an example of technical team. Remember the speech. If you see the speech, many people, of course, speak about the speech. First, you can't have a head of state. I was around. You can't have a head of state without rehearsal on the speech. You can't have a head of speech giving a speech that you don't know the culture of how does this head of speech, this head of state deliver the speech. You want to bring a computer, small font that are not clear. That's a big issue. A similar thing happened to Kagame. But you know what the Rwandan did? Rwandan covered it up. You remember, if you see there's an image where he slipped off of a stairs of his jet, the presidential jet. That team was sacked. The whole team was sacked. Where were you? Why don't you prepare? Like this is speech of His Excellency. It's supposed to be the whole team around him that's supposed to go. Because you're supposed to prepare your head of state in advance.
Absolutely.
and give him exactly what is happening in advance. So for me, is how much we push back. All of us, nature can catch us everywhere. So it's not a mistake of someone, but someone need to, and that's why the word assistance and help come to its meaning. Otherwise, these two words have no meaning if you're unable to assist and help. But this is, and I like the word used, professionals. Not just accommodation of the sons of the sisters, the in-laws, and the friends of the heroes. No. You need to get a technical team that knows the job and who understand the system, who understand the language. And it is I used to tell people, even US President Biden, he's not delivering his speech at a careful. He's not giving his speech anyhow. He is guided by a technical team. Your Excellency, you are this way, or you shame the nation. So for me, that's the responsibility of technical team. And that's why some of us, we speak out over that. We push that forward. But of course, it depends on who listens to you and who takes care of what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, that's how it is. Even here you mentioned, because the United States president, not even Joe Biden, any president come, they have their own person who write a speech. And even before the president go to the podium to present the speech, they have to, though all the staff can sit behind they sit, and then let the president practice the speech before he went to the public, So that's how they will do it here in the United States. When the president or any other leader want to go and give the public speech, you have to represent first, so that practice before you go and present your speech to the public. But that thing, in case, I don't see that the staff around president, they are not doing that. President have to bring people who know what to do, so that they can give him all the resource, all the support that if you go there represent or give speech, he have the right information there. So thank you very much. Let us go back to our topic. Yesterday, I see you are in J1 with the rest of 58 member of commission committee that you guys were swearing in. So to review for National Constitutional Review Commission. Can you explain about that? What is next after swearing in all the leadership and the members of National Constitutional Review Commission? What is next now? So all of you 58 people are swearing in yesterday. So what is next? What the way forward? Oh, you are mute. Mute yourself.
Yeah, sorry for that. Apology. So yesterday we are sworn, and we're missing 14 members because some of them were caught up. They're not in country, they're outside the country, including the deputy chair of the reconstituted National Constitutional Review. Of course, this process could have happened 2 or 3 years ago, but right now we are for it. And this simply because it's coming as a delay of the implementation of the peace agreement that we have been advocating around it for quite long. And I know several platforms are talking about the agreement, whether it's been genuinely, of course, the implementation is really slow and not genuine as expected, but at least we're moving steps forward. So this is one of the mechanisms which is to answer actually the underlying causes of the war or the violence in South Sudan, or if we can term it lack of democratic governance in South Sudan, is the constitution. And also I would like to assure you, actually, constitution is a fallback position if the agreement comes to an end. In terms of political transition in the country, constitution is one of the fallback positions that we need to look into it. So we are sworn in. What is next? The next thing is that after we've been sworn in, we had a bit of chat among ourselves. And the next step is now to really roll out the constitutional making process. But people of this constitutional making process is going to be citizen-centered constitutional making process. It means we're going to go for consultations. And after consultations, we need to bring citizens' opinion. And we undergone the stages that are required by the law, which is called Constitutional Making Act 2022. And the steps I will share later on. So we took the oath yesterday. And after we took the oath, why now as I speak with you, maybe because of the Christmas season, we may not be more proactive after Christmas. And after the New Year festival, we will be active in January. It will be the establishment of the institution. Because one of the quickest things to establish is that the structure is very clear. We have our term of reference clear, the chairperson, the deputy chair, the secretary general, the members, whom I'm one of them as a member. And then within the members, we're going to be divided to several tasks that are required within the commission. Some of us are going to observe certain responsibilities. Our next step is really recruitment of the Constitution Drafting Committee, because we're supposed to recruit drafters who will go to the public consultation. Our role as a members is to raise civic education, is to create a space where people can express themselves without any interference. Remember, Constitution is a very challenging process. It's more or less like the national dialogue. So freedom of speech, freedom of a press, and then freedom of movement for people. That's our responsibility as a members. We want to ensure that when citizens are consulted, they are free to speak. While we cannot draft, we need to have people who are experts in drafting, and they're supposed to be civil servants recruited through interviews. So we are soon rolling out the recruitment of a committee of 9 to 6 drafters that will draft. When people talk, they capture the people's opinion and they draft them into constitutional provisions. So we need to roll out that. That's our next step, is at the drafting committee with the setup of the structures of the constitutional process. Of course, money is needed. Yesterday, His Excellency President, when asked people to make opinion, and I raise up opinion, and my concern is that, look here, such mechanisms are always brought to function, like us today, we have been taking oath, but our problem is resources and the institutional setup. So yesterday, we are officially informed by Chief Justice that there's an office building with conference hall that he is giving us as a part of a judiciary structure that the commission will work. So that means in terms of office space for the commission is already identified by Chief Justice that we're going to occupy. It's an office that may take the number of the staff, because we have no big number, but we need a big hall because the members are many whenever comes the members. So that's our role as a members. So this is what we're going to do. And of course, also as a members, we're going to discuss among ourselves, how do we roll out the constitution making process? Yesterday, of course, there's a message from legal experts who are in the country, Chief Justice, Lawrence Kubandi, people who are from the field, Francis Deng, quite a number of South Sudanese experts were saying, we are not starting from zero. There are already an idea of a provisional constitution. But of course, there are sections of the constitution that citizens have to redefine it. And that's why we have to go for consultations. So for me, the next step is now 2 processes have to go simultaneously. Recruitment of drafting committee, and then the civic education of citizens to understand what constitution is and how can the constitution. And I think for me, the civic education goes together with the consultations, because we can't delay. And the reality is that if resources is available, if a political will is available, we can do something within a period of 6 months, or even within a period of 3 months, we can have something that is a product that we can have at hand that we have consulted. Because this 58 is a big team. If you, for example, you send them 8 per state in one day, we can run the 10 states consultations. And we can go down to the states. We can say in each state, you can give, for example, 8 members to go to each state. And remember, the 58 is inclusive of the chair and the deputy chair. So if you take the deputy chair and the chair out and the secretary out of 58, we may have about 50. So that 50, if we send 5 per each state for 1 month, in one single month, for example, if we say in March or in February, let us all go to the states and run consultations in 1 month in each state of the counties, we can have a product. But the ask we have is always political commitment and availability of adequate resources so that we can roll out this process. So for me, we have started the steps. But also this clearly tells you now when there's a call for elections, constitution is not a prerequisite. Now we have obligation as a members of the Constitutional Review Commission to roll out that particular requirement or that precondition or that prerequisite to deliver it. And if you look at the calendar that we have in country as a left transitional period, on 22nd June 2024, the commissioner of the National Election Commission is supposed to come out and declare elections per the law. 22nd June 2024, the commissioner, Abednego, have to come out and declare the country has to go for election now. Now, come 22nd December 2024, we are supposed to go for the polling station. That's how the timeline is. So if this timeline is a fixed, squeeze timeline that require political commitment, require availability of adequate resources, people may argue that the experience have shown us that normally such institutions come to existence and they are forgotten after the swearing in. Yes, it is true they are forgotten after swearing in, but I think these 3 institutions are very important. the National Constitutional Review Commission, because it meets one of the preconditions. The political parties council need to function, and already political parties council have given a deadline that at least by early June, all political parties have registered. Because by that, they'll be left with 3 months for the declaration of the elections. And we're now on existence. And then National Election Commission, which was decreed, and there's a dispute from the IO yesterday. Personally, I got a chance when President was going out shaking hands. I asked him, what about the National Election Commission? Because one of the things I did was to protest, not take an oath as a member of the Constitutional Review Commission until we got an information on the elections. So we are informed that they have already sorted out their difference with the IO. So sooner is going to decree the replacement of the IO candidate. So for me, the more we create constructive and genuine pressure that is productive in a non-violent manner, we can score some results. So our next step, as I said, I want to repeat myself, so maybe you have another question. The establishment of the commission, we already have the building given by judiciary. Now, once established with the commission, recruitment of the drafting committee. So the drafting committee now will go for public consultation because it is a citizens-driven constitution. That is what is next, and that's my answer to your question.
Yeah, thank you. Before I ask you another question, I have a follow-up question regarding about the election. Do you think election will take place in 2024? Because what we are seeing, there's a slacking. We're seeing a lot of not those leaders, most of them that are not 100% ready for 24. So do you think the election will take place in 2024? What if the election is not taking place in 2024? How South Sudan would look like? Thank you for that.
First, this particular election, it is fixed on our leaders. You know, like we have this South Sudanese saying, and maybe not a common saying across the world, is that sometimes when you eat something too much, it have consequences. And specifically for fisheries, if I choose fisheries, communities who live along the river, they like to eat too much fish. Sometimes eating too much fish, you will find a fish bone will stuck on your throat. Then you find it very hard to clean it because you eat it too much. So you undermine the bone. You say, look, I'm used to eat fish, so this bone of the fish will never disturb me. So as I eat, you should let me eat. So this election has become like a bone of a fish in the throat of our leaders. They have no way to escape it. Why? Comes February 2025, if we don't have elected government, actually, I used to tell people, many people look at political legitimacy will be under question by December 2024. No. Political legitimacy of the incumbent government will be under question on 22nd June 2024, which is 6 months from now. If I to count, December is gone. 6 months from now, political legitimacy of the government will be under question, the incumbent government. So it goes to December. If they didn't show any indicator of elections, the political legitimacy is gone. So 22nd December is a deadline for them, what is called red line. So 22nd February 2025, they have to quit. So there's a likelihood that from 22nd June, if there's no elections, a chances of questions around the political legitimacy for the current incumbent government may trigger other violence. There's no proper preparation. So that's one thing that if election didn't happen, or if there's no proper preparation for elections, and if there's no political commitment towards elections, that's what's going to happen. Because as we speak now, the Electoral Commission not in function as an institution, its human resources not in function, its adequate resources are not yet there. And that's why you can hear so many voices were saying, we are not really sure if elections will take place. Elections take place at a moment that if the leaders have a political commitment and a political will, and they direct all the priority of the state towards elections. So right now, the state have 4 things that they have to direct their priority for. Number 1 is a constitutional making process as a prerequisite for elections. Number 2, it is the security arrangements. You can't go for elections as you have seen today, how Juba have shown people. You know, we're living in a barracks that is not formal. We're living in informal. Juba is an informal barracks. So you have seen today how the informal barracks have sent out what type of guns. Number 3, they need to reach political decision on population census. Then number 4, the conduct of the elections. These 4 things they need to do it. If there's a political will and political commitment and resources, let me tell you, 3 months you can deliver. You can really score success over these issues. But this requires political will and commitment where you deliver adequate resources, which you have never seen for the last 3 years that I'd like to be forward. So that's required. Now, are there indicators that election is going to take place? I want to assure South Sudanese, and specifically for you, my brothers and sisters who are in diaspora. Right now, what we know and with experience in the region, the language of elections, we're not going for elections because there's prerequisites that are not been made. We're going for elections while there's a delaying of building the institution or starting the institution for the elections. All these languages mean the same thing. What we are aware that we're going to go for what we call negotiated elections under the concept of negotiated democracy. And in Africa, this negotiated democracy is a real challenge. So likely, as we speak now, some people are saying, oh, we are not sure whether the election is going to take place or not. But we who are close in Juba, who are watching the games, there's negotiated elections going on. Whether that will be free, fair, and credible or peaceful, but negotiations have already started going. What normally we like to say underground negotiations and planning is going on. And if those underground negotiations score results, don't get surprised in 3 months, everything will be impossible. That you not believe that, why then all those 3 or 4 years, why these guys are cheating on us if they knew that they're going to deliver things in 3 months? And remember, South Sudanese have that lesson. At last minute, they will like to work at last minute. Last minute, they perform miracles. So there's a negotiation going on. Why? Because the political elites are under challenge. And the unfortunate thing is that the negotiation is among the same political elites that trigger the country to violence. Now, what we think as the best way to really provide check and balance for election to conduct its place is how much will the civic and the political space be open for every voice to engage and to express in a non-violent manner, that we are going to go for elections, allow us to speak freely, allow us to express our opinion, and allow us to move for elections. What are the indicators? Let me give you indicators what election is going to take place. Number one, indicators. By the virtue of the conduct of business of the parliament is supposed to go for 3 months recess. But because we don't have a budget for the elections, the budget of the elections is linked with the supplementary, the parliament have reduced their traditional recess of 3 months to only 2 months. So February, they're coming back. They're resuming. Why are they coming back? The pressure of the elections is too much on them. Second, you have seen the redeployment that are taking place. People say redeployment with sticks, but it happened. There are normal sticks also. Some of them even they go with the sticks, but they end up cocking certain AK-47. Then I say, oh, okay. So the language of the stick somewhere can convert itself to a gun. With these collected guns now, that means the language of the sticks is no longer justifiable because these ammunition collected in Juba should be given back to the unified forces in a registered where they take a stock and they register them. Because if these ammunition can, I think they can cover certain force of redeployment of unified forces. So you can see now redeployment is taking place. Melekal, you can see in some part of the country, Eastern Equatoria is the latest. And as we speak now, you can see people are ferrying forces for phase 2 from Melekal. So likely they feel that challenge, June is too close, they will speed up those processes. That is the second indicator. The third indicator, you can see the president always speaking, I'm going to go for elections. And the fourth indicator is that the Minister of Interior and Honorable Angelina is seriously preparing a policing unit for elections, what they call Election Security Joint Committee under the Ministry of Interior. But negotiation is covering our eyes like as the preconditions are permanent. My assessment, my brothers, is that some of these preconditions can be undermined if the negotiations happen, because we're going to go for negotiated elections under the concept of negotiated democracy. Whether it will meet free, fair, credible, or peaceful, anyway, politics is politics. Politics is an act of pursuing. So if we want the elections to take place, let's pursue them for it to take place. So for me, that's what I like to say. But in terms of preparation, if you see, it shows you like in the normal circumstances, the preparation tells you we don't have enough time for elections. That is one say. Another thing I can give you those elections is that likely we may have an extension which is technically determined by the electoral calendar. Because the electoral commission is not yet in existence, if they come to existence, they have to declare an electoral calendar. There's a likelihood that electoral calendar may push for extension, whatever they can call it, technical extension. We have been joking some 2 days ago with some few of them. I was telling them in the verandas, I said, your appetite looks too sharp about the extension. One of them told me, we are looking for something what you call citizen demanded extension of the extended period. I say, will you have citizens consultation so that the citizen confirm to you that they have, because last time you didn't consult us and didn't consult the citizens. So will you consult the citizens for them to give that consent that we as a citizen have demanded? Then the person was joking with me. He said, look here, the failure of meeting preconditions and they talk about there's too much community arms. That language actually help us to extend the extended period. So it means that sometimes the more we talk about our fears towards the elections is helping them to say, you see, people are fearing. So that one give us a chance, let's extend the period. But of course, whether that extension buy legitimacy at a national level, I don't think. Citizens are not ready for any more further extension. The region is not ready for further extension. UN is not ready for further extension. Your agreement say, Article 8.4, say if the parties reach consensus, likely body like UN can give in, but like AU can give in, because it's the parties' consensus as the agreement, Article 4.8 says. But for how many times can they trigger that article of extension? Because we have extended pre-transition twice. So how long do we continue extending transition? So for me, the whole game is the leadership have to show commitment, will, and allocation of adequate resources. And that's why if you look at the recent UN indicators for lifting the UN imposed arms embargo, is all centered on implementing things that create a conducive environment for elections. Number one, we need to see unification of forces, which is a prerequisite. And of course, that unification is taken into account, taking a stock, DDR, and all these. Number two, we want to see a commitment towards political transition of the situation of the country, which is elections. But these elections requires a lot of like open civic and political space, adequate funding to the electoral commission, sponsored electoral commission. Number three, develop an action plan for prevention of sexual gender-based violence, because there's a fear that if elections happen, violence comes, sexual-related sexual violence is going to happen. So if you see those preconditions, which these are only some of them out of what's given by the Security Council, they're all centered around conduct of the election. So for me, the ball is back on the hands of the political leaders. Can they shift all their attention towards the elections and create that political condition environment? I will tell you, if the extension is to be technically by the Electoral Commission calendar, as for example, we're in the season of campaign and the campaign is with open free space, we're towards polling, yes. And by the virtue of technicalities, you can't vote in the rain season. You have to go for dry season. But extension have no any more market to sell. There's no bias of extension anymore. People need to see a change and a shift of the current transition to a permanent political process that democracy will be checked, whether we respect it or not.
Thank you very much, Edmund. We will see along the road. We will follow them, and we will make sure that this leader, we will fight them. We will make sure that they abide by their word, so that the election will take place in 2024. So if not, we will see, because they will give this one. Because a lot of people out there, opposition, they are really pushing not election to take place. And if not, for God's sake, I don't know how the country will be looked like if the election will not take place. So because right now, if they are campaigning, the election will take place. When they are reaching that time, the time is come. Oh, so the extension, and then the people will go. They will go to square one again. So let's go back to our regarding about president. When you were there, the president were pressing you guys, said that you guys need to speeding to do so that the permanent constitution can take place. And you talk a little bit about the resources like money. If there's money there to make this constitution work, so all of you people, 8 members right away to go to work so that you guys can finish your work. My next question is that, can you explain to the public about the permanent constitution making process?
Yes, of course. You know, the permanent constitution making process, maybe even the word permanent may not be fitting here, but
Mm,
making a constitution that is citizen centered. This is a political process that provides citizens an opportunity to
mm,
address what we call the underlying causes of absence of a democratic governance, or the factors that make the country always fall back into violence after our independence in 2011. And this have to do with the question of what type of democratic standards do we want to be enshrined in our constitution, what type of governance system we want to be enshrined in our constitution, what type of check and balances in terms of separation of powers between legislative, judicial, and executive to a practice. How do we treat the states, and how do we treat the local government? What are the interlinkages there? And of course, the issue of human rights, like the Bill of Rights, the question of separation of politics and military. How can people go to the uniform without paying political allegiance to the institution that runs the government? And that, I think also it offers an opportunity of separating what is called political parties and the state and the government. Because right now you can see like SPLM is a government, government is a SPLM, and as if you don't separate them. So the constitution have to address that. So the process have to go in this way. One, we as a reconstituted commission have to come out with what we call action plan for the constitutional making process. And during our swearing in, President have authorized us to come with a budget for our work, because the budget that we have before was a budget before the commission have been reconstituted. So there's an instruction: go review your budget and bring your budget as quick as possible. And it's one of the commission that President say he want to check monthly reports. You know, because it's really a very interesting constitution in terms of prerequisite of the elections. It's a very interesting commission because of the prerequisite of the elections. So that's the instruction we have. So once we establish, the next step is that we need to recruit a drafting committee of experts in the field of constitution drafting, and experts with several ideas. Psychiatrists need to be there, at least somebody with psychiatric knowledge, because how do we address issues of trauma healing? People with economical background, people with education. So you need to get drafters who are not necessarily lawyers, but people who offers a view how the country should look into some parameters of building a state and establishing a government. They need to be there. That's our step number two. After establishing the drafting committee, of course, the drafting committee will do their own literature review on existing documents that may inform constitution. What are these existing documents? I can share with you. One, you have the outcome of the national dialogue. You have the first constitutional consultation that were done before the country break into violence. You have the current agreement. You have the current constitution. But also you have other conferences like the Transitional Justice National Conference, like the National Economic Finance Conference that we have had. There's a lot of recommendations there. You have outcome of things like governors' forums that will happen in country. Okay, so you have literature, and even I used to tell people that still also we have a literature about the submission of the political parties when we're negotiating the Rivers Peace Agreement. A lot of political parties have done a lot of political academic submissions during negotiations. Those papers, we need to collect them into archive because they might have provided solution to system of governance. If you say federal system, what type of federal system, for example, and how do we want the federal system to be operationalized? Some of those papers of the political parties that negotiated the agreement have come out. So there's a lot of literature that are already on the table that the drafting committee need to review. But this literature does not determine the constitution. Then from there, we need to go for public consultation as our next step. We go for public consultations, public raise up with the drafting committee. Then the drafting committee come with a draft, a constitutional draft. This constitutional draft now will be subject for a platforms for us to look into and finally beat it as a commission. Now, when we're done with it, whatever we come as a commission now, this will go to the parliament, which will convert the parliament into a constitutional constituency. So MPs who are in the parliament convert into constitutional constituencies. Now they will ratify that. If they reach disagreement on a particular issue to totality, which was not pronounced, but I'm also you can't escape is a political stage in any deadlock where there's no consensus. People either go to vote for the elements of the constitution that where there's a disagreement, so that the majority formula determines the final consensus, or people go for referendum. The referendum, if you see the constitutional conference outcome, have not impressed the concept of referendum so much. But you can't avoid referendum sometimes in constitution making process, because the workshop on the constitution among the parties, the resolutions, it is setting the parameters for the constitution. So I think those are the process that we are going to undergo. But as I said, this process requires one, political commitment from the leadership, two, allocation of funding, three, we need to consider reduction of the active deadly communal violence. Like what is going on now between the Ngok and the Twitch? Can that help us to really to do consultations there with our citizens? What's happening in other parts of the country in Jongole? What's happening in some parts of Upper Nile? What's happening in some parts of Equatoria? And as we speak with you now, we're a bit worried. The commissioner of Magui was under detention. He's now in Juba prison. And we are worried about the Juba Nimule Road. If that detention is politically motivated for Magui commissioner, what does that mean in terms of the community of Magui County, that the commission which is appointed by the president now is relieved by an executive order of a governor, which contradicts that, because a commission is supposed to be relieved by the order of the president, since president appointed with the president. So this such political mess, we need to avoid them during the constitution to give us a space. And also we need to be ready infrastructure-wise in communities like Jongole where there's a floods. How do we go? And remember, we have the consultations only in country. We have consultations with refugees, we have consultations with IDPs, we have consultations with diaspora. So yesterday, we've been pushing among us as stakeholders. We have to appoint a focal point for diaspora community, because we feel the diaspora need to be given the chance to save the constitution. So now, yesterday we pushed until we have given an opportunity to have a diaspora desk. So among the stakeholders, not the political parties, we have representatives of the diaspora community.
Actually, that's my next question regarding about that. That's the news.
I push. Yesterday we pushed, honestly. Yesterday we pushed that actually within the reconstituted members, we need to have one focal point for diaspora. And it took us time, but we reached consensus. We need to have a diaspora among us as stakeholders. You know, this is a division of the membership. The membership of the 58, 50% of the 58 belong to the political parties. Now, almost 45% belong to us as stakeholders, which is youth, women, religious leaders, academia, eminent personnel. So we are almost 50-50. So if we, the stakeholders, can organize ourselves properly, we can actually influence the politicians, and we can buy some of them to determine the constitution we want. And that's what we're looking at. One, we need to have a diaspora desk. We need to have a desk that takes issues of IDPs and refugees into account. And for me now, as a stakeholders, honestly, one of my advocacies is that our diaspora desk need to establish, because our communication with the diaspora may not be as regular as we are, but we may need to establish a platform of how can the diaspora also establish themselves per the countries they're in. They can't be really one diaspora desk that say our diaspora only were looking at this particular country. No, we have diaspora all over the world.
Right.
But how can we communicate to our population in diaspora to start stuff? And for me, my appeal, I'm using this platform of yours. I'm appealing for you as our brothers and sisters in diaspora, with the knowledge you are exposed to, voluntarily start thinking about establishing diaspora desks. And for me, even if those diaspora desks can be coordinated that way, focal points, or even if we have set up, and not only diaspora, we may have also communities in diaspora that have a big knowledge about how they have seen other country constitutions. So we need to have a really platform for diaspora community submissions in the constitution. And not only diaspora alone, even our brothers who might have been in an opposition to the incumbent, the constitution, they have to put their opinion. Like the non-signatories, if they have chance to do submission, they should be given the chance to do their submissions and say, look here, we want to submit to the Constitution Review Commission. These are our concerns. So for me, it has to be as an inclusive process without any restriction. The good thing, the oath that we took yesterday, the swearing in, It was a very good praise, which when we were asked to comment, I said, President, I'm going to commend myself to that. It says, we took an oath under the Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan and the laws that we commit ourselves. For what? We commit ourselves for the following values. We're going to be impartial. We're going to be committed without any fear or favor to make sure we meet the aspiration of the citizens of South Sudan with the help of God. This oath is very strong. This oath is non-partisan, and we must make sure everybody is given chance to participate. So for me, we already have among us as stakeholders a diaspora focal point, and we have been pushing so hard. So for me, that is it. So if I give you what is our next plan, our next plan is to have the meeting of the commission. The first meeting, we'll have it after the Christmas for the commission to have it. Then for us as a stakeholders with the parties that are there, we as a stakeholders were interested in what we call interest group focal point setups. So we are going to establish a system that we make sure every South Sudanese, wherever they are, they have some mission. As I said already yesterday, we've agreed to have a diaspora desk because the consultation, we're not only consulting citizens in country. Remember, our population largely are IDPs and refugees and diaspora. If you look at our population, these three categories have taken big chunk of our population.
Absolutely.
And we can't ignore their opinion in shaping the constitution. This one. Two, also, constitution is not a, yes, I know people say constitution is not a legal document. Constitution, it's something that needs to be also traditional, taking into account yesterday, Franz Deng was telling us that. But also constitution require a knowledge. So having chunk of your population as refugees, as a diaspora, they have chances of learning from other experiences. So they have a rich knowledge that can offer you advice with what they have seen. Of course, the colonial constitution we have in Africa before was copy and paste, but this constitution is going to be copy and paste. We are going to share our own experience from what we have learned and what we think will fit to us. So, and that's why the diaspora desk is very important. If we ignore the diaspora desk in the constitution making process, we are ignoring a chunk of informed sector of our society.
So what did President say about the diaspora desk? Did he agree?
Oh, he give in. He said, you people, stakeholders, take it over. Okay. Because we're worried about if you put a diaspora desk for politicians, they will manipulate it for their political interests.
Right.
So as a stakeholders, we have agreed. We've agreed that as a stakeholders, we need to put a diaspora desk because we must have it. And our idea of the diaspora desk that we can receive from everywhere, submissions that come in. So for me, that's the opportunity. And that I'm using this platform to raise it up. And of course, people like us who are at any moment accessible, once the diaspora desk is established, we reach out to the diaspora, let them do their submission. And specifically as a stakeholders, we're going to be champions of that to ensure our diaspora population is given a chance. And even we're interested for our diaspora population to be consulted besides submission from diaspora, they should be also physically consulted. Otherwise, what constitution are you saying is going to be constitution citizen driven if section of your population you ignore them? The IDPs, the refugees, the diaspora. And in country also, how do you diffuse violence among the communities to allow some communities, because some communities are always on run. Look at the Ngok and the Twitch communities. They're always on run.
Right.
They fight here, they fight there. 1 month you are in rest, 1 month you are in run. So we need to stop that. And as I said, with what happened to the Commission of Magui, we need to stop such practices so that it gives us opportunity of sitting down as a nation and work on a constitution that shapes who we want to be leader and how we want a government to function and how governance should be run. Yep.
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. So that is a wonderful thing that you guys have proposed so that you guys can have diaspora desk. But because the population of South Sudan is outside, it's not inside. So some, as you mentioned, some are in the refugee camp, IDP camp, and some in Western country. So, and it's good that to have the desk for diaspora so that they can bring in their opinion and their what they think so that you can consider it. And that's how the country can move forward in positive way. So my next question regarding about as you are a member of committee, what is the time frame for the constitution making? So what time frame did you guys put it?
Let me be honest and sincere to you. As a member of the Constitutional Review Commission, we are going to revise the timeline that was allocated by the agreement and by the roadmap. And that's where I will really tell you clearly. Our aim that we are putting our mind during our discussions after the swearing in is that in the next 6 months, we need to deliver something. So we have intervals of first 3 months, which is March to January. We have put an intervals on that. Then from April to June, we put interval on that. But I don't want to really declare it here still until when we meet as a commission, as a members, we're going to revisit, because we're going to revisit with the reality, with the practicality on the ground, and with the demand. Because infrastructure in country, the resources are available, and the demand available. We're going to revise that. So we will likely, as members of the commission, with our leadership, declare a new timeline for the constitution. And remember, this timeline cannot undermine the end of the transitional period, as the roadmap have given the timeline that is ending by 22nd February 2025, and by June 2024, we're supposed to declare, electoral commission is supposed to declare. So if you see, and if you ask yourself, constitution is a prerequisite for the elections, to commission the elections, it means you to have this constitution before June. So it's going to be a marathon. But as I said, if the will and the commitment is there, allocation resources is there, this period is enough. We can do consultations. We can do consultation, and we can use, for example, if you have really political commitment, from January to March is a proper timing for running among our communities. Because the dry season, even up to April. Then maybe May become a month, from April, maybe mid-April or late April, to May become a period of really consolidating the constitution to become a document. Maybe by beginning of June, if a real serious, the constitution constituency should have discussion, which is a constitution, which is a parliament, is converted into a constitutional constituencies. The parliament can vet. So before the financial year comes, they should declare the constitution is ready and signed into law by the president. But that, if there's a political commitment and will that leads to allocation of adequate resources and opening up civic and political space for citizens to express themselves, do submissions. So for people like us, if you ask me, this is my personal opinion, is that we're going to push of improving the mechanism for citizen participation, not only physical. We are going to use the digital knowledge to make sure we create opportunities for citizens to do submissions. So that as quick as possible, and specifically, as I say, like the diaspora, that's a tool we can use, but we may have also physical discussion. So the drafters need to come to function, and the drafters, I am quite sure we have enough Sudanese drafters that can draft for us good constitution, if really we have the will and the commitment and adequate resources.
Thank you very much. And my last question is regarding, as you see, when you guys meet with President, he was telling you guys to speed up. The president, the president has assured you and the public that he will support the committee to speed up with the process. Are you confident about this statement?
Of course, a statement of allocation of resources we had in several interventions of implementation of the agreement. Remember, there's a peace budget. We have not yet seen the peace budget, and that peace budget has to do with dissemination. Until today, there's no government resources for dissemination. We have seen the unification of the forces budgets who have been declared, but the way how it's been used is not been there. But because constitution is one of the prerequisites for commissioning elections, President have asked us to put a budget. So we're going to sit down as a commission members with our leadership, develop a budget for the constitution making process, and submit to him, and then test his confidence in availing resources for this particular process. Yesterday, when he was shaking our hands, jokingly, some of us asked him, if there's no cash money, declare a cargo for constitutional making process. Because these days we have this culture of cargos for road making, cargos for what? So we say, declare oil cargos for constitutional making. So then now we go and sell out some cargos, and we get the money of the cargos, and we finance the constitutional making process. So I think there's a sense of commitment from him, because also he was telling us this one of the committee is going to look at it on monthly basis. And that's the first time I've seen sense of seriousness from him. But remember, it's not only the president who is a problem. The team around him may spoil, even if they have the will, may spoil that will for their best interests, for us not to have a constitution. So for me, really, to what level will the president take a personal responsibility in ensuring that political attitudes, allocation of resources are all geared towards the constitution? Because he may have that will, but the group around him, because he's not the one following up the money, Somebody is supposed to follow up the money and deploy and deposit the money to our accounts of the commission. Somebody has to facilitate. It's not the president doing that. But some of those people are actually the spoilers of the peace agreement. They are so much interested in keeping the status quo because they gain too much out of it without check and balance, without accountability, without transparency. So, which normally I term them as hijackers of the agreement. If the hijackers of the agreement are around the president, in the next 3 months, you may decide whether we're going to have a constitution or not.
Thank you very much. We will follow up with this very keenly. So we'll follow you committee, prepared committee, and even the chairman of committee. We would like after Christmas and New Year, we want them to come to Legislative Media so we can ask more questions. Before I let you go, today we've seen the Army spokesperson, Major General Lulu Ray. The Army went out and collected the legal arm from people's houses and legal drug. So this was a very big to see a lot of thousands of illegal arms have been collected. This is very scary, Irmund. This is very scary in Juba. Can you explain to us about what's going on here? Go ahead, unmute. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it's very scary. For 2 days, I've been closely watching. And I've been closely moving, following the forces, because some of the soldiers, our brothers and sisters in uniform, are so abusive. Some of them are involved in robbery, looting, terrorizing citizens. But collection of these guns, I'm also watching as a citizen along the forces, pulling them out of the houses. But also, if you see, this disarmament is strategically designed for certain selected targeted areas that they have generated these arms. What does it mean? It means there's a prior knowledge about the presence of these arms in people's hands. But as you said, when they were displayed today physically, and I saw them, so people don't say like it's a Facebook, because is it fake or not fake? They're not fake. I'm an eyewitness. It is real. It is scary. Fast. Type of ammunition that you don't expect for somebody to keep in his house, he's keeping in the house. PKMs, aircraft launchers, RPG. Imagine, how do you stay with RPG in the house? 11.
This is
are you really normal? PKMs, how do you clean them every morning? How do you clean the PKMs every morning to remain on standby to be used? And they're brand new, if you see them. Radio calls, Gornov. And unfortunately, some of them are guns that are recently afforded by our public resources for security institutions, and then now they're finding in people's houses. So, this is really scary if we're to go for elections. How will Professor Abednego Agok declare results of elections with the presence of these arms in the hands of the people? Will the commission really declare elections? Is it not everybody's going to declare his own elections, his own results? And that's why my call is that these arms were collected. They should properly be registered and then given back to the unified forces, where we say we are deploying them with the sticks. And this disapprove the language that we don't have guns, we only have sticks for our forces. This disapprove that language. And even this render the imposed arms embargo meaningless. With all arms embargo, still you have these ones collected in the hands of unauthorized people. This one, it raises a question on the storage system. Is the storage system not politically motivated? How some of these guns, you cannot bring PKM RPGs on a cargo plane, or you drive from Kampala to your house and then I bought them illegal. These are the formal ammunition to the government board and store. How do they find their way out of the stores to people's hands? Well, when I saw them physical, I was holding my head. I said, oh, so even these ones were keeping them in the house. You sleep with them for all this period of time, since January until December. towards Christmas, they're pulled out of your house. Number two, why is a store for bullets for supplying them for this? Something is wrong somewhere within the management of our arms and ammunitions. That is one question I raised. Number two, there's a high level of mistrust and lack of confidence within the leadership and the structures of security and defense institutions. They don't trust each other. And let me ask. If three people start fighting in Juba and somebody reported war is declared, are we not going to declare war randomly? This is ready war.
Right.
This is a ready war. So I was shocked. And I was asking myself, and then even does this tell us that we have leadership of defense and security institutions? If we have, how does these arms find their ways to the hands of unauthorized people? Who smuggled them out from the store? Who supplied them? And when this disarmament was declared, who have a prior information about these ammunitions? So for me, our class of political elites, or what I can say, we have a very big cast gun class that is still believe the bullet is the best way to struck the government, which for me is a real disturbing. And let me ask you, if we have a political disagreement in Juba town, and this political disagreement take ethnic dimension, these guns are clear genocide.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm afraid that in 2013 war, if people are armed the way it is, I see now
exactly
there will be a lot of
we could have been in a level of Khartoum, the way how the rapid force and Sudan armed forces are killing them, we would have been in that way. It could have been the worst. So for me, it is really, really a shame and name to the leadership of our security and defense institutions. It's really a name and shame. And it's also a question mark. Are they honest? Are they really committed? Are they trustworthy?
Yeah, no.
Instead of asking.
So what will they do? What will they get all these illegal weapons out from these people's hands? And how the government prevent these weapons go back to their hand again? Because what we see, because as you see the cattle keepers, where they get their guns.
Recycling.
They collect it and then they go back.
Yes.
Back again. You see? So the system. Yeah, go ahead.
The case of recycling is almost in all disarmament. And I'll give a case study. I one time went to do an evaluation of disarmament in Jongole, in specific locations, and I will not mention those locations because I don't want to put the community of those locations vulnerable. I got soldiers, and this is the analogy I use, the rationale I use. I went to see soldiers who are deployed for disarmament, by then under Peter Gadet, before the crash of 2013. They stay 4 months without salaries. And I take interest on this particular aspect. Soldiers sent for disarmament with that 4-month salary, and they're active. What is wrong? That's my question. Actually, my question was, what's happening? So I have to investigate what's happening with them. They're so proud that they're disarming civilians, but they don't ask for their salaries. Say, what is happening here? So I start following slowly. I landed on a woman who is having a restaurant. People come to eat. I went to that restaurant twice. I was paying cash money, but I can see soldiers eating without cash money. I say, oh, something is interesting here. We the civilians, we pay cash. People even why not paying cash? So I pick interest on the woman. Do you know what I discover? We pay, even the woman have no interest for the civilians to give them priority for the meals. She give the meals to the soldiers. The soldiers are eating one plate of a meal with 5 bullets of AK-47. And 5 bullets of AK-47, it brings about 3 goats from the armed traders. Look at the recycling theory.
Yeah.
And I think that recycling theory is the same thing with these ammunitions. And that's what I'm saying. There's a question mark on the level of command and control in our security institutions on storage of our arsenals. You know what? I was joking when these things were displayed. I was telling somebody, I say, you continue looking, you may end up finding a gunship somewhere, or a bomb of a gunship of somebody's house, because there's nothing missing now. The only thing you need to go now for gunships and some trucks, which are these big rocket vehicles. I say, you go proper.
You know, that something like they will have it. They will have it.
Certain house, another house may build of a helicopter. When things go on, they will switch it on. Then you come to realize there's a gunship there. Because how can somebody have an appetite of keeping an aircraft launcher in his house?
That's scary.
Aircraft launcher. Who are you going to shoot with this aircraft launcher? And how do you admire it? Manage these things of AK-47, pistols, RPGs, and gyms, we can say these are small ones, you can use it for looting. But an aircraft launcher, a weapon for destroying a tank, you keep them in the house. And they need to be cleaned every morning. And you're interested all this time. Almost 10 or 11 months, we've been cleaning them. Until December comes, you are caught up with it. It's disturbing. It is really raising a big question on trust and confidence, on command and control of our system of controlling our arsenals.
There's a red flag. It's really the capital city of the country can be armed like that.
And then, exactly. And then you raise a question. Were these arms kept for prestige purpose or political purpose? If you see previously, we have huge incidents of unknown gunmen. And in all checks of the last 4 years, this type of ammunition are collected when there's active unknown gunman. With this weaponry, there's no unknown gunman. Why are they kept?
Okay. Yeah.
Are they politically motivated? So the political leadership of the country have to take extra responsibility in being honest and genuine, in asking, we as incumbent system, do we trust ourselves? Are we honest to each other? Do we really care for protection and safety of the civilians? Because this tells you very clear protection of civilians is under question, is at risk. If this has been collected, protection of civilians is really under threat. It's a big threat, honestly. It's something nobody can believe. You can have a city where the president and the first vice president and vice president lives in, every morning move with the motorcade, and they're surrounded with these guns as a fence in the hands of unauthorized individuals. Is terrible. Anyway, we pray for the best. We hope that God will make sure that those who have volunteered, they can give it. And as you said, the next step is for someone like us. For me, we're going to watch out. Are they going to be registered or destroyed?
Destroyed, yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah, they don't have to destroy them. They should give them to the
unified forces.
Yeah, they give them stakes. We will graduate them with stake. And there are them. And when I asked you before that, okay, what are all these guns that have been collected from the cattle keepers, disarmament? Where these weapons go? You should use those weapons to give them to unified forces.
Exactly. And that's why this argument that we don't have ammunition, we have sticks, there is does not make sense. So today they prove it that what they're saying is not true.
Not true, yes. It's not true.
It's not true. It's not true. What they're saying is not true. We don't have arms, we only have sticks, and then we need to lifting of arms embargo and all this. Yes. But even why do you campaign for lifting of arms embargo if you have this type of weaponry in your hands? So it's really a big deal.
It's the opposite. They do a opposite down opposite. People, the civilian live in the houses, they have arms, and there's the military that's supposed to go protect it. They give them the stake. They give the civilian the house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly another round, which is not good. It's not good. Oh my goodness, South Sudan, country we hopefully. It's really sad. So thank you very much, Edmund Yakan. This was a very fruitful discussion. I think we come to an end. So I'll give you a last word to put in, and before I let you go. So it's a very good, my pleasure to have you today, and we will continue to engage to this discussion. So this is what our country needs. We need to bring to discuss and say what we are seeing is not right. We have to point out and let that discuss so that the government leaders, they should fix something that's going wrong, like for this weapon and the drug. So I never knew that South Sudan there is drug there. It's like here in the United States where I'm living in. People have a drug, they have gun, all kinds of stuff, you see. But they are the law forces are Muslim. So it's really, I said, South Sudan have a legal drug like that. Oh, it's really. So go ahead and put your last word, and then we can.
My concluding remarks are that one, for brothers and sisters in diaspora, we have now sworn into the constitution making process. I would like to say we shall have a diaspora desk, and we'll commit ourselves. If there's a political commitment and will and allocation of resource for the process to go, we will make sure diaspora have a very serious contribution, and they're consulted for the permanent constitution content for the Republic of South Sudan in terms of several questions that I can't talk about it, but I say that's the opportunity, and we joining the constitution making process as a stakeholders, which were over 27 individuals composed of different categories of stakeholders: youth, women, academia, civil society, eminent personnel, minority group, as I said, diaspora desk, IDPs and refugees desk. We will commit ourselves. We're not politically motivated. We'll commit ourselves to make sure that we use our constituencies to get the voices and contributions into the consuming process. The other thing is we're calling for an open political and civic space without any restriction, so that we have that freedom of expressing our opinion and speeches and sharing our ideas for building the constitution we want and engaging the electoral process that we can qualify them as free, fair, and peaceful elections. With the ammunitions we've seen today, my appeal, the leadership of our security and defense institutions is under question about their confidence and trust that they have in managing our arsenals. I think our stores are not properly managed, and protection of civilians is at stake. So I will appeal to the leaders of the country that with this experience they have, they should consistently continue, and what has been collected should be directed to the unification of forces interest, so that this language of we always have stakes, we don't have rivals, today is being disapproved. The rivals collected, give it back to the unified forces, register them, take a proper stock, and get them back. And for whoever is politically discontented, whether with the system or with opposition, the use of arms is not the option. The option is let's go for dialogue. Dialogue is the best options. Otherwise, one bullet can claim lives of 10 innocent citizens. Why do you want to take lives of innocent citizens? Because of your political discontented opinion. And for the incumbent, listen to other voices, give other voices the space without any restrictions to shape the opinion of the South Sudan we want. Otherwise, up to here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. We don't have a show before Christmas or New Year. I'm wishing you and your family happy Merry Christmas. Have a blessed Christmas. Enjoy your time. God bless you with your family.
Merry Christmas also.
Yep.
And Merry Christmas to your audience. Merry Christmas to our listeners. Happy New Year. Hope to meet if we don't meet within, but I hope that we will meet before we cross to New Year and we can check how Christmas is celebrated.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You say we are free. I need a little give you more, you better. You sit all. You say we are free. I need a little passion for you, what's God? Ayan, Jana Junubi Ayan, Mapi Gurus, get the view as a city. Oh, Gian, Jana Junubi Gian, it was to be left, Omakulu, for two. Anataban, since 2011, Ariaka, same level today. Anataban, twin on it. And you let it say, Penyara, To in Juba, Malatori, hey, yo, in Bing William. To in Benti, Walla Quaju, hey, wow, in Bing William. To in Malkal, Walla Pinaram, in Bing William.
Thank you guys. Bye for now.